Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Eavesdrop, a program of the Small Business Entrepreneurial Council. Thank you all for being here. We are delighted to have you here, and we are delighted to welcome and thank our sponsor for 2023 of our Small Business Solutions series, Jake Mead with Mead Agency and Associates. And Jake, I'm going to turn it over to you for a sponsor spotlight.
Yes. Well, life's better when you're protected under our roof because our agency offers better protection, value, and peace of mind through quality insurance products offered by American Family Insurance, access to my open network of brokers, and access to my team of award-winning and trusted local insurance experts who provide exceptional customer service. You can contact my team today at insuringyourdreams.com.
Jake, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your support and the fact that you are a diamond level leading investor. So thank you for that high level of investment in the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. So Eavesdrop is a program that provides an opportunity for us to have a conversation that with a leading community leader, and then our members can listen in. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with an opportunity for you to ask your own questions. And we are truly honored today to have with us Les Davis, who is the president and owner of Lithtex Printing, and frankly, a darn good friend of mine for many, many years. And so this is a special treat to have an opportunity just to have a chat with Les. But even more outstanding is the fact that this is a really special year for Les with Lithtex Printing. You are celebrating your 50th year in business. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
So
50 years.
50 years. I mean, what a huge milestone. And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your investment in the Washington County area for 50 years and all that you've done, because it's not just about running your business, but you're a community leader and have been a community leader the entire time that you've owned your business and have always put community first. So I know that I'm interested, and I know our members are interested as well. How did you get here? What is your journey? Tell us your story.
Well, my story started when I graduated from high school in Hillsboro in 1966. I had an after-school job at a service station and another one at a company called Noblecraft Cabinets. And one of my duties was cleaning machines out in the shop, and the other part of the duty was helping in the office and cleaning and making copies and distributing them in the mailroom. So all of us guys that graduated from high school in the 60s kind of knew that Uncle Sam had his eye on us, and we were going to be drafted into the Army, most likely, unless you had, a scholarship or some school thing that you were doing. And I wasn't a great student, so I tried college for a little bit. And by the end of the first semester, I decided that me and 3 of my buddies would join the service. So we went down, took a battery of tests, and if you joined for an extra year, the Army would send you to the school of your choice if you qualified for it on their tests. And one of the things on the battery of options that I had was printing. So I signed up for an extra year in the Army, and they promised to send me to printing school. So that's how I kind of got started in it. After being in the service for a year, going through Army printing school, graduated from that, went to work for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, got to be at the Pentagon, did some printing there for them. Then I was transferred to Frankfurt, Germany, where I worked for the Stars and Stripes, which was the newspaper and printing distribution for the American service people in Europe, and got to work with some great German craftsmen that ran printing presses in Heidelbergs and they were just known for their craftsmanship and their love of printing and some of the industries that they were in. But they're pretty protective of their equipment, and a young Army private coming in wanting to run their big sophisticated presses was probably not what they wanted to see happen. So they teamed us up with somebody there, and we worked alongside them. And I was a second pressman for the rest of my tour in the Army. While I was in the service, I got married just before I went over to Europe. My first daughter was born in Frankfurt. Cost me about $8. And 10 months later, we got out of the service, came back home, brought my wife and daughter back to Oregon, back to Hillsboro, and was going to go back to work for Noblecraft. But Noblecraft had sold in between when I went in the Army and when I got out. So I decided to go to work for the Hillsboro Argus, because they had some of the same similar printing type equipment that I'd learned to run in the service. I joined that group, the Hillsboro Argus, in January of 1970. Some of the folks that worked there, they were a really great community organization. They, were involved in all kinds of things. Being the newspaper, they were just involved in everything. I worked in the job shop part of it, not on the newspaper side. So I got to print things for small businesses and folks that were, running their own companies and marketing their own stuff, which was similar to what I had done in the service for the military. Some of the people that worked there were involved in the community, and I got introduced to the JCs, which was the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and they had a leadership program, and I went through that, and we did some community service things. We ran the Hillsboro Happy Days in the early days in the 70s. And it just got me involved more and more in the community, and I liked that more and more. After 3 years at the Argus, I went to my boss and I said, I'd really like to see if I could get a little raise. He took me in his office, sat me down and said, Les, this guy's worked here for 50 years. This guy's worked here for 30 years. That's the way this organization takes care of people. You have job security. You're a good pressman. You'll do fine here, but you're not going to get a raise. So I don't know what I was making. It was like $1.50 or something, whatever the little bit over minimum wage was during that time. So I went home, I thought about it. I had met some people through the vendor organization and gone to a couple trade shows here in Portland that were related to printing. And a friend of mine that worked at Tektronix in their print shop was getting laid off. And he and I got our heads together and said, you know what, let's take a run at this. Let's try and start our own company. So he was from Texas originally and worked at Tektronix. And when we were coming up with the name, I wanted it to have something to do with litho, because lithography was what we, the big buzzword for what we did. And he wanted it to have something to do with Texas. So we settled on Lithex, and that's how we got our name. We started off in Beaverton, because when I went to Walt McKinney and told him I was going to leave and start a little shop, he said, not too thrilled about that, but just don't do it here in Hillsboro. I go, well, okay, we'll do it in Beaverton. So we went to Beaverton, and then I did some work for the Argus because they needed the stuff printed that I was printing before I left. So we did some work for them. We just started building relationships with other companies. We got known for printing manuals, because I had a relationship with the guy that ran the print shop at Heister Corporation. And one of the things they had to do was get all their documentation down on manuals, and they needed some help doing that. We learned how to do that sort of work. And that was kind of how Lithex got started. I soon learned that I couldn't do it all myself. I had my partner Ty, and he would go out and sell and do that end of it. And I was the guy that stayed inside and ran the presses and waited on the customers in a quick print kind of environment as they came in and out the door. I got to know all the vendors. I got to know all my customers. And pretty soon I wanted to do more and more work, and it wasn't coming in fast enough. So Ty and I decided that we were going to go separate ways. He didn't want to work very hard. He was older than me. He had signs on behind the door that said, be back Monday, out for fishing, you know, those sort of things. He wanted a job where he controlled his time. I had to get things going. I had a Volkswagen payment. I had a daughter. I had to keep things moving. So we came up with a scheme, and throughout my career, I've tried to find ways to do things that were fair for both sides. If there was some sort of a dispute to had or a decision that had to be made. And the way we decided to handle this was we each wanted to stay in printing. So we said, okay, over the next 6 months, we're going to duplicate our equipment. We had to buy another little press. We had to buy another little camera. And then we decided one of us would get the name and phone number, and the other one would get the location. So we drew straws. I got the name and phone number. He got the location. So I loaded up my extra press and camera and moved down across from Jesuit and started all on my own there. And I had family members that helped me. I had, I had hired my first employee there. It was a time when real estate was doing a lot of printing. And so I got to know all the real estate people, and I would print those flyers that went into everybody's, little box that they hung up when they were selling the real estate. I got to know the vendors, and I would ask them, who can I help? Who can I do printing for? Who else in town needs this sort of stuff? And they would introduce me to people from Amfac Mortgage or just folks that they knew. So we got a lot of word of mouth referrals and that kind of stuff, and just kept growing. And as we grew, and I was trying to do more and more of the work myself, it was very apparent to me that I needed to surround myself with people that knew more about what was going on than I did. I found a great accountant that helped me get things started off on the right foot there. I took my first year's records into him in a box, paper box, and he says, you need to go back and organize these and get them in order so that we can have a chance to get you set up right. So I did that. He became a friend. He's still my accountant after 50 years. He's retired, sort of, but he has about 30 of us that he still takes care of. I had a great attorney that was a young guy that came in, was doing, I was doing some work for him. He would help keep me registered properly with my names and business stuff that you need to take care of. I had insurance. I had, all the things that you need to have to run a good business. So you just surround yourself with people that you have confidence in, that are there to help you, and you're there to help them. So I did that. And after about 78, I met another guy that was starting a little print shop. As the industry changed, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have typesetting capabilities. Everything was different back in those days. So as we grew and the technology changed, and I would always go to the trade shows, and I would learn all I can to try to stay ahead of the technology as it was changing. And the opportunity came for this other guy, my second partner. He was more interested in the film, and he worked for Tektronix too, and he shot negatives, and they did all the big drawings and stuff for their work at Tektronix. And so he was exposed to the newest and latest technology on making these metal plates that were the new thing that was coming into our industry. So we joined forces, And I had an uncle that was kind of a mentor for me. And he said, Les, I recommend that as you grow your businesses, because I wanted to have a hub and spoke kind of a business. I wanted a main office, and then I wanted smaller offices around the area. So he said he recommended that I buy properties for each of these little locations that I started. So I tried to do that, and I wound up with 6 little pieces of property over the next 7, 8 years. And they each had a little print shop in them, because you couldn't buy really nice properties, but you could buy really cheap properties. It didn't really matter where you were, as long as you could take care of your customers' needs. So this hub and spoke model worked fairly well, but it taught me that I had to hire people that wanted to run businesses. There's a difference, I think, between people that want to be employees. They need that security. That's what they want in life. And people that want to run a business or own a business or do things kind of the way they want to do things. And you learn as you go through your path in life, and you grow through some of these things, that how critical it is to surround yourself with people that share your vision and can help you do the things that you need to have done. So I got to know 6 of these people that ran these little shops for me, and they were great. They helped me so much. And then as we grew, we got up to like 25, 26 people. My partner decided he wanted to retire because he was 12, 15 years older than I am. So we worked out a deal where I bought him out, and then I became the sole owner of Lithex again. And then it became even more important that I surround myself with great people that could help me do the things that I wanted to do with this business. So as we went through that process, I decided that I wanted to build a new factory out here in Hillsboro, because that's where I was raised. I was involved in the community quite a bit at that time. I loved being in Rotary. I loved being working with the chamber and doing projects through the community. And if I surround myself with the right people, they gave me the time and the opportunity to go and be involved in those other things. So I met Bob Evans, who maybe some of you know, who was a great builder in this area. Another example of surrounding yourself with people that are very good at what they do. And he helped me build my plant that's here in Hillsboro, and get it organized and set up so that when we moved from Beaverton, the old properties, into Hillsboro, the new properties, we didn't miss anything. We put in new equipment, we put in new, the new building, all new processes, and sent my people to get training. I had a whole year to train while they built the building and put in the new equipment. And we hit the ground running, and did some open houses and had invited people in and just made them aware of what we could do. And fortunately, lots of them needed the kinds of services that we provided. So in 2001, I moved into this facility that we're in now. And at that point, I'd been in printing 20 some years. So I was trying to decide, should I move on? And I'd done lots of other things. I had lots of other little businesses along the way. I had a guideline laser system business. My wife and I bought a park in Mountaindale, which is north of North Plains. And we put on company picnics from 1986 to 2006. And we'd bring in Freightliner or the hospitals or the US Bank. And we'd have a big picnic event for for up to 3,000 people that just had their company picnics at our home and our facility up in Mountaindale. Then I decided, to develop some properties and just branched out into lots of different things. I like to be diversified because I had a great team at Lithex. They really just needed to know that they were taken care of and could run this business and do it in a way that made us proud and respected in our community. So now I'm at the point where I need to figure out how to keep Lithex going on beyond less, because I'm 76 years old. So it's time for me to think about slowing down a little bit. So I found a couple of guys, actually met them in the printing industry, probably 10 or 12 years ago. They had a small shop. They were working really hard, doing all the right things, loved their employees, took care of their customers, well respected in the industry. And I talked them into joining me and buying me out. So now I have a great new leadership team that's coming in that will have Lithex continue on beyond me. So that's probably the biggest thing that's happened in our 50 years. We've celebrated this year with the whole year, just doing things with the company, had a company event, and lots of that sort of thing. So that's how I got into it and how I got where I'm at.
Les, my goodness, thank you so much for sharing that story. There's so much to unpack. I guess my first question is, or I guess comment is, it was interesting that the second time you had a partner, you didn't do the drawing the straws thing. So yeah, I was good like that. Guessing you had an attorney that walked you through that, but it just really tells you how you begin, right? How you start, and that you are not necessarily doing things, the way you're doing them today, obviously, but that you had trust in people and that you picked the right people for partners. And then I also just wanted to comment on the Noble Craft. Is that Charlie Noble's company?
Yes.
Yes. So you started out just out of high school, and you were with one of this community's greatest leaders and givers and philanthropic leaders in our community here.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, you had a great example. I love that story, and the fact that you say names of people that we know. I mean, we've got a park named after that person, right? That's fabulous. So thank you. I'm so glad we record this, because this was there's so many things that I didn't know about you, and I thought I knew you really, really well. So really, I really appreciate it. So I want to talk about the group that you have of printers that you've been working with. I don't know how long, but for a very long time, where and what that has done to your business and how you made the decision to do that, and just how that works.
Well, when you get to the level where you have a great staff and team that can keep things running and you don't have to be there all the time, I would travel to these trade shows and I would meet other people that had businesses similar to mine. And we would talk and as you separate out into classes that you take to learn about different phases of your business, some of the people that you meet along the way are trying to solve the same kinds of problems that you are. You talk about equipment, you talk about financial things. How do you measure success? How do you incentivize your people and take care of them along the way? What motivates folks, and how do you keep your company growing and moving forward? So we formed this group through the trade association and started meeting quarterly, and we called it the Silver Pen Peer Group. And we decided that we would travel to each of our shops. There were 10 of us in this group, and we would go through their shop, spend a day going through their plant and seeing how they did things. And then we would spend a day talking about the difference between the way we did it and they did it, and try to improve our processes and try to find ways to help our customers and our teams get better. And it's a great way to do that. We shared financials. When you're not in your community, you can share customers, financials, all kinds of things, and learn a lot from these people that do things maybe a little bit differently than you are, and manage things a little different than you do. But one of the things you learn are people that join those kinds of peer groups and want to learn those kinds of things are folks that really care about their people. And they're always trying to find ways to help their organization be a little bit better by learning from folks that have maybe already solved some of the problems that you're dealing with. So I'm still in that peer group, and I've got the new folks coming in here, and we go to those every quarter and we learn. And we also send some of our senior staff, my production manager or accounting, and they meet and they talk about how they solve problems with each other. It's a great example and a great way to learn more about your industry from other folks that are going through the same sorts of things you do. And when I can pick up the phone or email right now and ask some kind of a question about an issue that we're dealing with, and I'll get a response from several of them if they've had some expertise in that area. So I really have enjoyed that peer group.
Well, Les, it just seems like the one really common theme about your success is that you never thought you knew it all, right? You're always at the point, constantly looking for what's next, learning and wanting to compare and contrast and learn and bring that knowledge into your team. And I think that I when I sort of wrote out some of the questions that you and I would be talking about, I knew that because I know you well and I know who you are as a person, and you always give the credit back to your team. It's never about what Les has accomplished. It's always about what your team has, accomplished together. And it's just that I think you're such a great business owner story of the foundations that make a business owner successful is the never being beyond learning, always giving the credit away to your team and the way you treat your people and giving back to your community as well. Yeah. So I'm going to ask a tough question is, in the 50 years, what's been your biggest disappointment?
Wow. I think the hardest thing for me was in 2008, when the whole world just kind of shut down. What do you do when you have 40, 50 people whose livelihoods depend on you? And even things that happen out of your control, you still have a responsibility to those people. So that was a pretty tough time for us. We sat down, we talked to all of our employees, found out what we could do to support each other and help each other. And I went for a couple of years without being able to take any money out of Lithex. I sold off some properties. I always was very diversified and stuff. And I did things that I had to do to protect and take care of this company. You have to do that. If you're going to be a leader and you're going to ask people in your community to support you and your business and work with you as a team, when things get really tough, you have to be able to make huge sacrifices to do everything you can to protect them. And I think that was the toughest thing, going through that. It was a national problem. It wasn't just us, but it was a tough thing to deal with.
Well, and it's the recession, the Great Recession, COVID, another issue that you had to deal with. How did you weather that storm?
Well, fortunately, the PPP programs were there to help us. That I felt like that was a great program because it actually got the money to the employees and helped protect them and keep them going through a time when there was, there's no way to just keep working. So I was able to keep all my employees working, and I think there was one of them that said, I'd like to take a year off and do something, and so he did, and then he came back after that. But there were all these programs just to help, and we just learned to, how to take care of them and what each one of us needed to survive through that. And we kept going. We worked all the way through it. We never did shut down, and we never lost any employees.
Well, I think that's a huge statement about you, and the loyalty that you have earned from your staff, because I think that, a lot of times it's my people, I care about my people, but you've demonstrated it for 50 years. And so that's some staying power, and that's genuine, my friend. That is genuine. So now I get to ask the fun question. What would you say in 50 years would you consider, besides, your lovely wife and your family and your children, what's been your greatest success?
Well, I think it's being fortunate enough to have surrounded myself with such a great team that I can do some of the things that I care about in my community. I've been really lucky to be, involved in this community in lots of ways. And I enjoy that. I like that. I like being, thinking that we have a corporation that's a great corporate citizen, and that we can do things for people when they need some help. We get to help the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We get to help lots of groups and organizations that need a little bit of help from us, or services from us, and we can either discount it. You can't give everything away and take care of your people at the same time, but you can certainly make their dollars go as far as you possibly can to help them out, and be as fair as you can, and give your time. And I've had employees that worked on projects here in town, or the air show stuff, and I'm just proud of the team that I have built around me, and the way that they take care and care about each other and their community.
So during COVID, people still played golf. I was intrigued by this. Will you talk a little bit about the golf cart business?
Yeah. I had an opportunity many years ago. I met a guy that was starting a little company, and he wanted to produce golf scorecards. And one of the challenges was getting the footages and doing all the things that golf cards have to do. But he didn't want to do the printing side of it. So he and I teamed up. He would organize the cards, and I would print the cards. And then he decided to sell that business, and I almost bought it, but I had just built my plant here in Hillsboro. So I met another guy that was interested in buying it, and I formed a relationship with him. And I said, tell you what, I will be your printer. You do the marketing and sell these cards, and I'll do the print side of it. And we became very good friends. It was a great partnership. We now print half of the golf scorecards in America, right here in Hillsboro. We print them, we score them, we cut them out, we box them, and we ship them all over. And it's from a relationship that we found a way to partner and help each other. And it feels good to have a customer that brings work into our area, rather than just having to rely totally on the opportunities that are in our area. So we get to do golf scorecards for half of the courses in America, maybe more. I mean, they're growing. They totally sold out. The new organization, I thought, we're going to have some challenges. They came back and said, we don't want to change a thing. We love the way you guys manage this process. And if you have a process that works really well, then that makes it pretty easy to stay in the game.
Well, and I would just say that one thing that, technology is never going to replace is a good game of golf, right? Right. So, I mean, it's kind of technology proof in terms of,
Yeah.
doing that. So that's awesome.
Well, there's something about everybody wants that golf scorecard, although
Right.
you can do it on your phone on an app like anything else in life, but there's something
Yeah.
about
That little pencil and writing a number down. I think there's a whole thing to that.
I think so.
So I know that you mentor a lot of emerging entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
So tell us, what you tell them.
Well, when they come to me and ask me about business kinds of things, I tell them it's all about the passion that they have. You have to, if you're just going in it for the money, you need to be an investor. You're not, don't start a business. If you're going to start a business, you need to have a system that can provide a service to somebody that they're willing to pay you for. And you have to be able to work hard and make some sacrifices. It might be long hours, it might be a lot of different things, but mostly you need to be able to surround yourself with people that share your mission, your vision, and will support you with it. And your family is the first ones that you think of. So I'm encouraging. I love small business. I think it's the backbone of America. I think when I'm on a plane and I'm flying into the city or something, I see all those lights down there. I think half of them are houses and some of them are businesses, but somehow they all support each other. They're just a big team. And I think the business community provides opportunities for everybody in our area. And I think our community is a perfect example of that. We have a few giant companies. We have a lot of small companies. And I just advise them to surround themselves with great expertise and make sure you have a good accountant, make sure you have a good attorney, and make sure you're passionate about what you're going to do, because it's going to be work. It's going to be hard work sometimes.
So how in the world are you going to retire? What's that going to look like for you?
Well, it's easier when you feel like you have somebody that can take the reins and keep the business going. And that's what makes it possible for me. So I could be gone for months and this company would probably be better and do just as well as when I was running it full steam a few years ago. So I feel really good about that. So that's the first thing that has to happen, is you have to have somebody in charge that can take it and keep it moving forward. And then you have to figure out what you're going to do so you don't drive your wife nuts. And that's probably the harder part, because we've traveled a lot and we're older now, and we don't want to travel as much as we used to. So we have a nice place down in Lincoln City, and we go down there, and we're in a community of 15 or so other folks that are retiring or older, and we just love it down there. We have a great time, and I'm still fairly involved in lots of things here in Hillsborough. I'm on 3 or 4 different committees, involved in the Washington County Visitors Association. I like that. I see some challenges there. I'm a huge hops fan. Everybody knows that. I'm involved in some other things. The Hillsborough Community Foundation does some great things. So I have areas that I can stay active and be involved in. But I was just talking to Pam last night. I'm going like, Pam, we need another project. We need to buy another hideaway or something so we can keep going. And she's not so sure she wants to take on another one, but we probably will. I'm here to tell you that I'll be around for a while, and there'll be something new that comes on that I'm involved in that will help make our community better.
My friend, I have no doubt of that. I have no doubt of that. Well, now it is time for you to have an opportunity to interact with our members and our audience, and they're going to ask you some questions. And I'm sure that they've got really great questions, because this has been just a phenomenal opportunity to talk with you. So folks, I'm going to open it up and just raise your hand or unmute if you've got a question or want to. All right, Mr. Smith.
I always have questions. So, Les, you talked about, going through the low parts, like, '08, and then of course the whole COVID thing. And I think any business operator or owner understands the high levels of stress that are involved in it, that, the 2 a.m. wake ups where you bolt wide awake out of bed and you can't go back to sleep because you're freaking out about some minutia. How have you been able to deal with that throughout your lifetime, or what do you do, when those moments hit you? I know for me, as I age, it gets a little easier, but it's still always questioning of how other people do that and deal with it.
Yeah. You're right. There are those times, and it does get easier as you get a little older, because you realize that this too will pass. I mean, you'll get through it if you've got a good team set up and you've got folks around you that can help you with those kinds of issues. I rely on them heavily. Like I said, in my peer group, I'll just try to get information, try to make decisions. One thing I learned early on is if you don't make a decision, it'll get made for you somehow. So you have to make decisions, and they're not all going to be right. I mean, if you can get 50% of them, you're probably doing pretty good. But I just think it's a matter of making a decision, looking at the problem, putting it out there, talking with your folks that you have some relationships with in that area, and asking them for help. I'm never afraid to raise my hand and call a peer group or call a friend or folks that I'm working with and say, what do you think we should do here? How do we handle this? How do we get past this? I mean, it's all about having those relationships and being confident in what you're doing and keep going. I mean, I know I've known you now for a few years, and you're a great guy. You do some really great things, and just the way you manage and talk about, the industry and how the kinds of questions that you have and how you work so hard to try to make it better. I mean, I should be calling you for advice.
Tonian.
So my question, with technology constantly changing, and especially the change from print to digital over time, in your opinion, what does the future hold for the printing industry? And are there emerging technologies or trends that you're excited about, or kind of hesitant that's coming? Or what do you think about the future of the printing industry?
Well, I believe there will always be print. I think everywhere we look around, everybody's told me for the past 20 years, print is dead. It's not. There's print everywhere. And print's a pretty powerful medium for getting your point across. But you really do have to embrace the technology and the changes that are coming. You have to work with them. Yeah, the new folks that are coming in to partner with me and take over Lithex are a digital printing company, and they're forward thinking, they're forward looking. It's all about building the new system that helps us take care of the customer base that we have, and learning more about data and how to manage it and how to help them market with the new technologies. So I think one of the exciting things about printing in this industry is there's a lot of change. I mean, I go from lead type to wood type to photo type, and up to now we can do more on my phone than I could do the first 10 years I was in business, I think. It's just amazing. So it's really interesting, and part of the success of this company is going to be keeping new technology involved in what we're doing. And the team that we have here cares about that and is, embraces it. So.
Well, I'll just have to add to it, maps, right? We think that everybody's getting their, using their GPS and, their phone to find directions. And we have people, every single day they come in, do you have a map? Do you have a map? And I'm like, well, we can show you on, no. I want something I can hold. So to your point, there will always be a need for printing. Sherry, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity and congratulations, Les, on such a great story. Also, congratulations specifically on your exit plan. I find that so many business builders are resistant to thinking about that and doing that very, very hard work. So I was curious to know what motivated you to do that work, and particularly I'm interested in how that cohort group may have helped you, or it's something that you all had looked at as a cohort.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I saw these two brothers that came in and bought a little copy center, and everybody's talking about, the number of shops are reducing in America. There were 33,000 shops like mine at one point. Now there's 13,000 or something. I mean, they reduce and they merge and I've done a lot of little tuck-in kinds of things. So I meet a lot of people that are in this industry, but these two guys were passionate about the systems that they were building, the things that the people they were surrounding themselves with. And I thought, man, I really need that kind of expertise to move my company forward and to keep it going beyond me. You can always hire a new general manager or something, and I've had some great ones. But if they don't have that vision of growing and building a system that will take care of the folks that are here and the customer base that you have, then it's pretty hard to step away from it. So once I saw them, introduced them to some of the things I did everything I could to help them, when they asked me for help, got them involved in my peer group stuff. I just saw the kind of people they were, the hearts they had, the way they cared about it. They're both Hillsborough graduates from Hill High. So, I mean, they just checked a lot of the boxes for me. So, now they're on a path to take this over, and I've been working with them now for a couple of years here. And it's amazing. All of their people moved into this building in this company, and it's just part of the family. It's like we were always meant to do this. So it's great.
Thanks.
I got lucky, but it took me 10 years to get them here.
I think it's yes, you are lucky, but you are also very smart and very strategic, and you're also probably one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. It just all that you've done and contributed. Mr. Smith, you have another question?
It was just more of a comment, kind of what you were saying, Deanna. I hear Les saying over and over and over, I got lucky, and getting lucky can happen once. Getting lucky doesn't happen multiple times over 50 years. You're doing a lot to make that luck happen.
Well, I tell everybody that, I got where I'm at with 50% luck, 50% timing, the rest of it's brains.
Oh, you're funny. Well, and I also just appreciate the fact that because of the fact you've had your business for 50 years, you help the chamber and you bring forward, your thoughts around, business impact. So we have a lot of, elected officials and folks that are thinking about, how do we, what do taxes look like? What are, impacts? And you're very also, very strategic about helping us understand the business impact of certain things, and your understanding of community needs, but you also understand what it takes to run a business successfully. And you're not afraid to say, that's not a good idea. That doesn't make any sense. And here's what this is going to mean to, a business owner that's the size of Lithex. And it always comes from the point of, I want to keep my people.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only keep my people if I'm running a profitable business. And, the words profitable and business, they should be quite comfortable in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
right?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe being involved in your community, it's not, and I think I tell the people when I'm on committees, I'm not a rubber stamp guy. I'm not going to go along with every single thing that you say. I'm going to give you my opinion. And sometimes it doesn't, we don't have to agree on everything. There's lots of ways to solve problems, but we have to be trying to make our community better. And we have to think about, I care about employees. I think employees are the best thing in the world. I mean, where would I be? I'd be still running a press in my garage or something. I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't have great people that I surrounded myself with. And they make me believe anyway that they really like being part of this organization and this community. And they stick around. I did a little review thinking about this event that you're having right now. And I thought, how long have some of these people been with me? And I have people that have been with me 30 years. I have people that have been with me 20 years. More than half of this company has been here over 10 years. I mean, there's something about this team and the way that they work together that keeps them coming back. There are tons of opportunities for this group of people to work somewhere else if they wanted to. They're all really sharp, great people, and they've just become a great team. And they just keep pushing me ahead of them. So I'm just fine with that. I'm proud of this group.
Well, I would say I was at your 50th anniversary celebration, and your people are happy.
Yeah,
they're happy, and you helped create that culture that you have there. Kevin, I think you had a question.
Yeah. Hey, Les, with all those years of wisdom and stuff, what would you recommend to us of other industries to create the peer groups that you created and joined up with? What would you recommend we look for, and how would you approach that?
Well, I remember twice in my career going through the Dale Carnegie classes. A lot of respect for what you do. Anything that shines a light on people and helps them feel better about what they're doing, I think makes us a better community. So when you have opportunities to do that, encourage people to take a little bit of risk, help them understand some of the risks that they're taking, and give them opportunities and encourage them. I think that's what we can do.
Mr. Davis, thank you so much for your generosity of time and sharing your story with us. Like I said, I learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate that you were willing to help us understand how you've been so successful. And, there's things in there that we can emulate. You're a role model, and a role model in our community for not only your business savvy, but your heart for the community. So we thank you for that. I want to thank you all for joining us here today on our Eavesdrop program, and want to thank again our sponsor, Mead Agency and Associates. And you will have an opportunity to learn more about Jake Mead and Mead Agency and Associates on November 15th from 10 to 11 at our next Eavesdrop program. And I want to thank you all for being here, and wish you a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Les. Take care.
Thank you.